Hello, pretty people. Welcome back to Simply Delish Duo. You guys, we're going to take you into our kitchen today and we're going to show you how to make our Ma's traditional Italian meatballs. Now, the cooking process is slightly different than some of the recipes out there, so I guess you're going to have to watch a video to see what the difference is. But you guys, these meatballs are super juicy, super moist, and so full of flavor. You are going to love this recipe. We both actually honestly suggest that you try this recipe. So if you're new to our channel, check out our other videos and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, pretty people, so for Ma's meatballs today, we are using two types of meats because Ma always uses the two types of meats because she knows everything. So we're using a pound of ground beef and a pound of ground pork. And into that, we're going to be adding 2 eggs, half a cup of fresh chopped parsley.
That we got out of our dad's garden, by the way.
Yeah, you raided the garden this morning, didn't you? Okay, now into this meat, we're going to be adding, I know there's more than 3 cloves in here, but we're going to be using half of it for when we make the sauce. But we're going to be adding 3 chopped cloves, garlic cloves, a cup of breadcrumbs, and also a cup of Parmigiano cheese. Now you could also use pecorino cheese, but today we are going with Parmigiano cheese. And for our spices, like I said, we're doing it Ma's way. We're adding a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and you guys, just a pinch of paprika. It just adds, again, that extra flavor. So
I'm gonna throw this right in.
Yeah, throw it right in there.
And season to taste. If you want it a little more salty, because we've only added a teaspoon of salt, only because the cheese is salty as it is, and the breadcrumbs are seasoned Italian breadcrumbs, so there's some salt in there as well.
Yeah, so we don't want to over salt our meatballs. So we're gonna throw everything in here. There.
Do you want me to get the garlic?
Yep. And again, just half of it.
Yep. So you said 3 cloves of chopped garlic?
Yep. Your cup of breadcrumbs, and we're gonna do a cup of cheese, but Chica here is just gonna throw fistful, which adds to a cup of cheese.
We're eyeballing, and you can see we've got this cheese we've mentioned many times in a Ziploc bag because we buy the large blocks of cheese or the wheels of cheese, and I think that's about a cup.
That's a good cup.
And we grate our own cheese.
Now you want to make sure that you mix these nicely. Now I'm gonna give them a good mix here. And I'm gonna use both hands because it's just so much easier.
And you don't want, one trick here is you do not want to overmix your meat. Make sure you've got everything incorporated, but do not overmix, or else your meatballs will become too dense and heavy.
Okay, so we have our meat mixed here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna form our meatballs now. Now we like to make them not too big and not too small, so about a golf ball size. And we also like to have a bowl of water. Now it just room temperature, it doesn't have to be cold or hot. We dip our fingers, wet your palms, you guys, because this helps form the meatball. It gives it a nice smooth finish. And not only that, it doesn't all stick to your hand. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna start forming these meatballs here.
And any size, like Bibi mentioned, about 1.5 inches, a golf ball size. You can make them larger if you want, or smaller. Ma usually makes hers a little larger. She drops them in the sauce like we are going to show you, and she has them simmering for hours and hours. And yeah, so that's why she makes them a little larger.
Okay, now I have a great idea. Did you want to continue forming all these meatballs? I'm going to take these pretty people over to our stovetop because, you guys, we're going to start up on our sauce here.
Sounds good.
Okay, so in our hot pot here, we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. There. And we have here 1 small white onion chopped up. Now, you're going to want to cook down the onion just a little bit before we add in our garlic. So, while our onion is cooking, you guys, I'm going to talk about our tomato sauce. We are using homemade tomato sauce, which we make every year. And we're using 2 jars. I don't know if you could see this. We're using 2 jars of homemade tomato sauce or passata.
And lucky us, because we're coming close to September, so you know what that means.
That time of the year again. Yippee, yahoo. So,
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, though, B.
absolutely.
Sorry, guys, I'm yelling here because I'm rolling those meatballs up.
So we're using 2 jars, which is about 2 liters, so 2 quarts of tomato sauce. So let's let this cook down just a few more minutes before we add in our garlic. Okay, our onions have cooked down quite nicely here, so we're gonna add in our garlic and have it cook for like 30 seconds because we don't want the garlic to burn, right? So let me give this a good stir here. And there, that's nicely mixed. So what we're gonna do now, you guys, is we're gonna add in our tomato sauce, our passata. And now we have it on medium-low heat because you don't want your tomato sauce to be bubbling all over your stove here. And if you don't have homemade, you guys can use the, oops, talking about a mess and bubbling over. So if you don't have homemade, what you can use is your pureed canned tomatoes or the jarred passata sauce. So when we don't have homemade, when we run out of the homemade, that's what we use. So we're gonna let this simmer for about 15 minutes while Chica's almost done here. And then we're gonna add in our meatballs. But before I let you go, let me add some water in the jars. So what I do, I just add a little bit of water in the jars, just a little bit in each jar, and just add it in there. It cleans your jar a little bit too, so you're not wasting much tomato sauce here. Okay, so we are gonna put a lid on this, but before I do that, you guys, we're gonna add in our salt and pepper. So I have here about a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper. Give it a good mix. Now, I don't know if some of you guys have noticed, but there is a little bit of a basil leaf in there because when we do make our sauce, our jars, we actually add basil in our jars and then seal them and whatever. So now you want to put a lid on your sauce.
Oh, we also have fresh basil on the side here.
That we will add in later, near the end.
Yes.
Also, when you put your lid on, you guys, we don't like to put it on fully. We like to have just a little bit of a gap in there. And then mix your sauce maybe just a couple times before we add in our meatballs. So give us a good 15 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, so Chica's done forming all of our meatballs. Now, before we pop them into our sauce, you guys, we're gonna do this, and I know we've talked about this previously, but we're doing this, of course, Ma's way. Now, where my mom and dad come from, the region that they come from, they don't bake their meatballs, nor do they shallow fry them before they actually put them in the sauce. We just actually put them in the sauce raw, because your sauce is going to be cooking for about 2 hours. So therefore, your meatballs cook for 2 hours also. And not only this, you guys, we grew up eating it this way, and we find that the sauce is so full of flavor. Your meatballs are so moist and juicy and super delicious.
Plus, you skip a step. You know, it's easier. It's less work rather than, you know, frying them or baking them first. And like Bibi said, they're moist. They're so delicious, like beautiful. They turn out beautiful.
And how many meatballs did you make? About 30?
We got 32 meatballs out of that.
Wow. And you guys, you know, these freeze well too. So you could form your meatballs, stick them in the freezer. You could cooked or uncooked. We like to do them uncooked because they're always on hand then. Now, have you noticed that Chica's slowly mixing the sauce? You don't want to be breaking those meatballs because then you're going to have like a...
Not right away because they still are raw here. Yeah. So once they cook...
She was just making some
firm up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll continue adding these in, and we're going to simmer, like Bibi said. Did you mention how long?
Yeah, for almost about 2 hours. Now, on a medium to low simmer, you want to have them with the lid on too. And once in a while, you guys, make sure you stir your sauce because you don't want the bottom of your sauce burnt.
On top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese. Yeah, I know there's no cheese yet.
You gotta put the cheese.
And I know my singing sucks. You don't have to tell me.
So you guys, our meatballs are done and they look so good and the house smells delicious. Oh, good, perfect. You're putting the cheese on my spaghetti here. You guys, fun fact. spaghetti and meatballs is really not a thing in Italy. What they do in Italy is they have their pasta first, and then they have their meatballs on the side. So
or meat or whatever.
It could be ribs.
Secondo,
Yeah, secondo. It could be ribs. It could be meatballs. Whatever. But spaghetti and meatballs did not originate in Italy. It's a thing that the Italians immigrating to North America here introduced it. So spaghetti and meatballs. And you know what I love about these meatballs? Not only are they good.
I know what you're gonna say.
Oh my Lanta. I wish I had some of that fresh bread right now. But anyways, you know what we love about these meatballs? A meatball panino with some provolone melted cheese in there. Delicious. Or even by themselves. So you can eat them with pasta and the panino by themselves. They're delicious. Either way, you guys are going to love these meatballs.
Are you going to try one?
Oh,
I already had two.
Did you have to? I haven't tried. And you know what?
That's my dish, but that's okay.
Oh, that's
we're
okay.
sisters. We're
Doesn't
sisters.
matter. I am going to give it a good try. Actually, you know what?
Oh, do you want to show?
That's what I'm going to do before I try. You guys, I cut into one. Don't they look really, really, really good? Now for the big taste test.
Oh, they're good. Oh, it's hot, BB.
Oh,
Watch it.
So good. So moist, so juicy. Love Ma's meatballs.
And we stated 2 hours, simmer for 2 hours, and it depends on the size. Actually, this here, we simmered for about an hour and a half. Not so much 2 hours. As long as they're cooked on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. But you guys have to try this recipe. You guys are all gonna love it. Your spouses, your partners, your family,
your friends.
You're gonna love our Ma's meatballs.
So thank you for watching Simply Delish Duo. See you next time.